Welcome to the Modest Sports Show, home of your Modest Sports takes. I'm Corey. Hey, look, today we finna get into some real football. Real football. So if you're a real football fan, stick around. If not, exit at the back left. All right. Today, our topics will include a couple of big names to look out for coaching-wise in the upcoming season. These are hand-selected by me. What inspired this, I seen a list on Twitter the other day by On3, and it was a top 10 coaching list of the biggest names in college football. And so I said, man, I looked at the list. Some of the names I agree with, some of them I didn't. So I said, okay, I'm gonna make my own list. I'm gonna hand select a few. So don't get butt hurt if your favorite college coach isn't on here. I know one person right now who feelings gonna be hurt when they coach not on this initial list, but I might plug them in as an honorable mention. All right, so stick around, man. And without further ado, let's jump right into this, okay? First name on my list is Jedd Fisch. Okay, Jedd Fisch just got the job with the University of Washington. Just to skim through a couple of his stats as a head coach. His first season at the University of Arizona went 1-11. That was 2021. His second season, he went 5-7. That was 2022. Third season, which was this past season, 2023, he went 10-3, and they made it to a bowl game, obviously being bowl eligible. And he defeated Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl. So lots of experience at both levels. Doing my research on him, he had a lot of experience in the NFL and plenty of experience in college football. We know how those translate. Upon leaving U of A, he ranked 11th, and that was the highest finish in the University of Arizona's history in a quarter century. That was something that was very, that was a stellar, what's the word I'm looking for? That was a stellar component to how they finished this past season. Arizona team played competitive. This was just my analysis of them. U of A, they played competitive last season. Like, there were a couple games where I watched them. I'm like, man, this is a good football team. I felt like they were young in a couple of positions, but they definitely had some playmakers, definitely had potential in a lot of areas. And I feel like they were on the cusp of something bigger heading into this next season, right? Obviously, with some coaching changes, I'm sure a couple players have left, hit the portal. Some guys going to the league, like every team. I'm sure they're a little uncertain, right? Having Jedd Fisch leaving and going to the University of Washington. Not going to harp too much on that. But last season, they lost 3 games, and they lost all 3 of those games by a combined 16 points. So they were in pretty much every game. And so I think that was definitely something that I'm like, okay, like I said, this team is a very competitive team. They're playing good ball. They lost to my brother's team, Mississippi State, on the road, hostile environment, but that game went down to the wire. That was a game for me where I'm looking like, okay, this team here, they got the pieces, you know what I mean? So, but Jedd Fisch, going back to him, I feel like because of how he developed the University of Arizona's team, I think that'll be able to translate in them losing Kalen DeBoer at the University of Washington. I feel like he'll definitely come in and kind of give a spark and be able to lead, a kind of depleted Washington team. And let's see what he can do in this upcoming season. We know Washington is going to the Big Ten, so he definitely has his work cut out for him. But I think that it was a right move, smart move. Moving on, we got Billy Napier, head coach of Florida Gators. So Billy Napier was somebody who did very well at his prior school, University of Louisiana at Lafayette. All right, he went 40-12 at Louisiana Lafayette, and he showed he had. I don't have all the accolades right here in front of me right now, but I do know in doing my research, he had a lot of guys, All-American players, plenty preseason All-Americans, guys that got to the league. So he did a good job developing his players at Lafayette. I will say it's been a bumpy road, though, since he got to the SEC, being in Florida. Both years, last season and this season, he tied for 4th in the SEC East. last season, because this year they weren't bowl eligible, but last season he lost 30-3 to Oregon State in the Las Vegas Bowl. I would say these was a couple of quick notes. I would say very uncharacteristic of Florida these past couple of seasons. I'm not going to say Florida is every single season we expect them to be this great team, right? But I don't expect Florida to be what they have been the past couple of seasons, especially competing in the SEC East. I think really and truly, my opinion in the SEC East, of course, you got Georgia, who solidified themselves as the top dog in that division. And then you have Missouri. Missouri is definitely on the rise, right? I'm interested to see what they're going to do in this next season. I think that Tennessee is kind of, look, I know a lot of Tennessee fans thought that it was about to be an enlightenment and just a renewal of Tennessee football, especially after the 2022 season. But I kind of figured going into this past season, it was going to pretty much be the same. I didn't feel like it would transition into something even better than that 2022 season. So I would say, though, for Florida, I think that it's uncharacteristic how we've been seeing them play in the past couple of seasons because, man, like just in 2020, they were in the SEC championship game under Dan Mullen, I believe. So they're a team that's kind of like rich history, but I don't know, man. Billy Napier, I've been reading articles and I've been seeing some things that this might be that season where he's on the hot seat. So Billy Napier is a name that I say look out for him. I think Florida has been able to pick up a few pieces from a couple other schools. I love Florida. I think that Florida has great potential to be successful. I always tell the people that I'm in and around, like, man, I love the University of Florida. I've been there on a couple of occasions, stopped through there. I'm like, who wouldn't want to go play college football in Florida? Like, beautiful weather. I know it get hot, humid sometimes. I'm an Alabama boy, so I know what that be like. But, man, look, Florida, I would have went to Florida if I would have had the opportunity. So moving on, next name is Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby is Mississippi State's new head coach. Now, I have a longer analysis on this one. Jeff Lebby is my little brother's head coach. So, yeah, man, let's get into it. So he started his career off as an OC. He didn't start his career off here. This was his first OC position. So he started as an OC at Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida, where he led the number 1 scoring offense and the number 3 total offense in 2017 in NAIA. From there, he went on to be the quarterback coach at UCF. He developed Mackenzie Milton. Milton finished 6th in the Heisman voting in 2018 and also 7th in yards passing attempts, yards per attempt, and 9th in passing efficiency ratings, right? During the 2019 season, he was promoted to OC at UCF, where he coached Dylan Gabriel to throw for 3,653 yards and 29 touchdowns. He would go on to serve 2 seasons. Oh, hold on. We'll come back to that. He'll go on to serve 2 seasons as Ole Miss's offensive coordinator under Lane Kiffin, where he ranked 8th in total offense, and in his first season, during his first season in 2020. He would go on to serve in the OC role at the University of Oklahoma under Brent Venables, where he would rank 13th nationally in yards per game in 2022 and 4th in yards per game in 2023. And that we should also note that Dylan Gabriel was his quarterback. I know this past season, I'm not sure about the season before that. But either way, right, Jeff Lebby is going into his first season as a head coach at this level. And I believe that his resume speaks volumes for itself. I think that everywhere he's been, his track record shows that he's going to produce. And that, I feel like, is especially important because there was a lack of offensive production at Mississippi State this past season, right? I feel like Mississippi State always does good in they always do good on the defensive side of the ball. We've seen many guys, right, come out of Mississippi State and transition to the next level. But we'll see how Jeff Lebby coming in and maybe bringing in a couple of his guys. And then we're also going to draw another correlation here in a second when we move on to players. But I feel like he's definitely going to bring some juice to that Mississippi State offense, and we'll see what he does in the next season. I think that they're going to be definitely a team to watch in the SEC West division, and we'll just see, man. We'll see. Moving on, we got Mike Elco, right? Mike Elco, former coach at Duke Blue Devils. He got the job at Texas A&M this past offseason. So this is actually his second tenure at A&M, okay? His first tenure there, he was the defensive coordinator and the safeties coach under Jimbo Fisher. His head coaching record at Duke, in 2022, he went 9-4. During the 2023 season, this past season, he went 7-5. Some quick notes. They started the season off hot after upsetting Clemson, where they went 4-0 in that first stretch of the season. Leonard Johnson, their starting quarterback, I feel like after he got hurt in the Notre Dame game, their season kind of started to go in a little decline. I know Leonard Johnson, he came back for a couple of games. I'm not quite sure which ones right now off the top of my head, but he played in a couple of those games after he got hurt in the Notre Dame game. They tried to patch him up, and it really wasn't quite the same, you know. So that season, him getting hurt kind of killed the momentum. And Leonard Johnson, you know, he ended up transferring to Notre Dame this past offseason. So we're going to see what he does at Notre Dame also. But Mike Elco, right, this is something that in doing my research, I'm like, okay, who is he as a person, right? Or what do I know him to be as a coach? And I went back and I watched some college on, I think it was week 4 or week 5, whenever they were playing Notre Dame, he was on College Game Day. And something that he was quoted saying is, we have developed a winning culture at Duke, right? And so I think that was pivotal and that was truthful at that moment in time, because having gone 9-4 his first season, while I believe the year before that they had an under 500 record. So he definitely, I feel like, he holds the reins in terms of building culture, and I think that with the resources that he's going to have at his disposal at Texas A&M, he should be able to kind of catalyze maybe renewal in College Station. So Mike Elco, that's a name to look out for. And last but certainly not least, Kenny Dillingham. Kenny Dillingham, he is Arizona State's head coach. Now, something that I thought was very interesting about his and Jeff Lebby's coaching ladder and how they climb to the ranks that they're at is brilliant, and you kind of see the power of networking. So let's just stay with me. So Kenny Dillingham, right? He started off at coaching high school, and while coaching high school in Arizona, because he's a native of Phoenix, Arizona, while coaching high school there, he took a job as the offensive assistant, while coaching at the high school level in Arizona, he was able to meet Mike Norvell, who was the offensive coordinator at Arizona State at that time, okay? And so because of the relationship he cultivated there, he was able to take a job as an offensive assistant under Norvell at Arizona State. So his career after the fact, Norvell would go on to leave Arizona State and go to the University of Memphis. Now, while Norvell was at the University of Memphis, he would hire Kenny Dillingham as a graduate assistant at Memphis. And from there, he will kind of work his way up at Memphis. Eventually, he was able to get the offensive coordinator role at Memphis under Norvell. Norvell would then leave, okay? And Kenny Dillingham would also leave Memphis, and then he would go to Auburn. From Auburn, he would go to Florida State. At that time, Norvell was at Florida State, so he would rejoin him back at Florida State. From Florida State, he would go to Oregon. Now, at some point in time, right, and just, again, networking, him being at Florida State had connections to Oregon. He would go to Oregon. From Oregon, he would get the head coaching job at Arizona State. So he took that job in 2022. Now, I know Arizona State this past season, people, if you're watching right now, you might be like, Arizona State, right? I'm not saying that they're going to come into the 2024 season and be an unstoppable force, and they're going to be this dominant team in the Big 12. Not what I believe at all. What I do believe is they're going to be able to have some success in the Big 12, especially the teams that are now joining the Big 12 and the teams that joined this past season. I think that they're going to be able to be at the top end of the Big 12. And I think that Kenny Dillingham did a good job this past season for the pieces that he had on offense. Because truthfully, every game that I watched them play, they went through their running back, number 4. I really can't think of his name. Short, brolic cat, run downhill and punish you. That was their offense for the most part. And then their quarterback, he was okay. He somewhat had an arm, but I think he struggled in some areas of the game, especially height and being able to hit receivers, see receivers, and find windows. So that was something that that was just how I seen it when I watched him this past season. So with what he was able to do with what he had, man, and they played some tough games, almost beat Colorado, almost beat or played very good on the road at Washington. So I think that is Kenny Dillingham's Arizona State. They're a team to watch out for in the 2024 season. So moving on, right? So, let me say this. There are some honorable mention coaches. I didn't do deep dive on stats and pull anything crazy. But what I will say is some other coaches I think that we should look out for this season is obviously Deion Sanders. Like I said, I got you, bro. I said I got you. He'll know who I'm talking to. Deion Sanders. I think that look, with Deion, man, we just got to see. We got to see. Look, is it all talk? Because last season you went 4-8. You moving to the Big 12 this year. You got a couple teams leaving the Big 12 and some other ones coming in. What you gonna do? I think with Colorado, man, it's tired of talking, tired of all the hype. Just go play ball. Let's see what y'all gonna do with an assembled roster. I think that Deion is definitely somebody. If he doesn't go 600 or 500 this year, definitely somebody you gotta. I know it's coming. I'm not doing it, but I know the questioning is coming. So be on the lookout for that. Some other coaches just coming to mind. Lincoln Riley, we're going to see what he do, losing Caleb Williams and a couple of receivers like Brendan Rice. And then, of course, the defense, the putrid, horrible defense. We got to see what he's going to bring in or do on the defensive side of the ball. We obviously, Kalen DeBoer, we're going to see what he does here at Alabama, how he assembles his roster, what he does with his coaching staff to build on what Saban has done. I can't really think of any. I'm drawing some blanks right now. If you got some other people, some other coaches that you feel like, oh, hey, this is somebody to watch out for in the upcoming season, drop them in the comments below. And we might have to do a part 2 of this where we're talking, where I, do a deeper dive on them and we see how they're going to pan out in the 2024 season. But as promised, next up, we got the transfer portal and notable movement from players all around. I got a couple of guys right here, and we just going to, check them out. We're going to get their profile, and then we're going to see how they might benefit or what their positive attributes are and how they might benefit the next team that they're at. First up on my list, I got Trevor Etienne. Obviously, we know he has a big brother in the NFL. I think he plays for the Jaguars. He's a running back at Georgia. He landed at Georgia in the portal, I would say, and leaving the University of Florida, Gainesville. UGA successfully recruited Etienne, the number 2 running back in 24/7 sports transfer rankings from Florida to Athens, Georgia. Etienne is known for his agility and averaged nearly 6 yards per carry during his 2 seasons with the Gators. His addition provides the Bulldogs with a dynamic playmaker alongside their more powerful options like 240-pound rising sophomore Roderick Robinson II. My analysis, the Modest Sports Show and player analysis, we said that runs downhill, doesn't go down after first contact, can catch out of the backfield. Huge get for the Georgia Bulldogs, especially losing Kendall Milton and Dijon Edwards. Shows great speed when he gets to the second level. I thought that was something, especially for his size and his prototype. A lot of times you see shorter, stockier backs. They have everything that it takes to get to that second level, right, on the defensive side of the ball. After they break the first and second, or excuse me, third level. When he gets to that third level, he doesn't get caught. But when they get to the first and second levels, they have everything it takes to get to the third level. But then we might see a safety or a cornerback come from the other side of the field, run them down and clip them before they can, break it for a tud. So I thought with Trevor Etienne, he showcased on his highlights or on the film that I watched, when he reaches that third level, you're not going to catch him at all. So I think Trevor Etienne is going to be a good fit for Georgia. Brock Vandagriff, quarterback, Kentucky. Vandagriff is coming from Georgia, so he's transferring from Georgia. Vandagriff was a former 5-star prospect. He's set to take on a starting role despite limited playing experience at Georgia. At Kentucky, I don't really know what they got coming in. I'm sorry. I got to pay more attention. I don't really know what they have coming in this upcoming season, but what I do know is I know Destin, he just left to go to Colorado. I'm sure there was some discrepancies. And then I know Deuce Hogan, he went to New Mexico State. So it's a couple of guys who were there, and it's just ball. So they moved on to other schools, but they got somebody coming in from Georgia. He spent 2 seasons behind walk-on Stetson Bennett and Carson Beck this past year. He's attempted just 21 passes in his collegiate career. However, his fit in offensive coordinator Liam Combs' pro-style offense is seen as promising. The success of Kentucky is likely tied to Vandagriff's performance, with legitimate questions about his experience lingering. So in my player analysis of him, I wasn't able to really compile a lot of volume and things to speak on. But what I will say is in the limited reps that he had at Georgia and what I was able to see, he definitely can use his legs to extend plays. I would say even more than Will did, my former teammate when I was at Kentucky, right? So he, it's not to say Will wasn't athletic, but I do feel like Brock Vandagriff, like he surprised me when I turned on the tape. I know it was against like lesser opponents, like I think one game was against University of Tennessee Martin, schools like that. But he definitely does show that when he needs to, he can use his legs. So I think that's going to be very big in that offense at Kentucky. I've seen a couple of read options where he has the ability to get out on the edge and get some yards upfield. So just be on the lookout for that. Now his player analysis, I said, can use his legs to extend plays, but I also noted that he has a very strong arm and his deep ball placement is great also. I was very impressed with that. And he was throwing to receivers like Ra Thomas, who we know has speed on the outside and, can create separation. Ball placement was actually good. So I definitely think I'm not going to say again that it's going to be this immaculate offense, but I do feel like it'll be better than it was last season with Devin Leary at quarterback. And we'll see how it compares to Will, as the season progresses. My next player is, and I'm sorry if I butcher your name, bro, but my next player is Kelly Akhare. Okay? This is a Mississippi State incoming transfer. He came from UTEP, all right? Last season, no Bulldog receivers surpassed 700 yards, and their top 2, Griffin and Thomas, are leaving. They had their top 2 targets there in the transfer portal or have left and got to their new school. New coach, Jeff Lebby. See how it all connects? Everything all connects. Jeff Lebby, known for an offense relying on dynamic wide receivers, addressed this by acquiring Ack. We're just going to cut it down. We're just going to call him Ack. He addressed this by acquiring Ack from UTEP. With 1,033 yards, 7 touchdowns, and an average of over 21.5 yards per catch, Ack brings proven deep play prowess, aligning well with Lebby's up-tempo strategy. So, again, if you watched any football this past season, we know what Oklahoma could have done this year to some teams had they made it, if they would have kept momentum and had they made it a little bit later in the season. I definitely feel like, again, it's going to be interesting to see what Lebby is able to do at Mississippi State on the offensive side of the ball. I feel like Kelly Ack is a receiver that showed me in his player analysis. He creates great separation and can track the ball well. For his size, he has a long stride. Not the tallest person, but he definitely has a long stride when he catches the ball or when he gets the ball after the catch. He's not the biggest target. I feel like he's somebody on film. You might see him and be like, he looks bigger than what he actually is. I have yet to meet him or see him in person, but I am interested to see how he fits into the offense. And even though he's not the biggest target, for the size that he does have, I think that he uses it well. So we're going to see how he fits into the offense. We're going to see how Lebby is able to throw some pieces. I still feel like they have some questions at quarterback. I know they got I think it was a transfer from Oregon, a high school transfer from Oregon, 5-star kid. So we're going to see. We're going to see what they're able to do this season. I don't think Lebby is afraid. I think Dylan Gabriel played at UCF as a freshman, so I don't think that he's afraid to play a freshman. But we'll see. We'll see. And lastly, but certainly not least, Isaiah Bond, wide receiver at Texas. Bond is a standout in Alabama's 2023 season, made a memorable 4th and 31 touchdown catch, securing a last-minute win over Auburn. His postseason performance included 9 catches for 126 yards in the SEC championship game and the Rose Bowl. Now with Texas, he leads a wide receiver group, replacing all 3 starters and 5 top yardage contributors. Bond is poised for all-conference honors and potential All-American recognition in 2024. My player analysis on him, he's a great fit at Texas, I highly believe. See him coming in, replacing Adonai Mitchell. Great route runner, good ball skills. Don't think he's the fastest, but very crafty in how he uses what he has also. I feel like he is definitely going to be that they're going to plug in. I think he's wide receiver 1, like Adonai Mitchell was. Or I won't even say like he was. I think that what Xavier Worthy brought and what Adonai Mitchell brought, very different. Xavier Worthy, squirty, fast cat. But Adonai Mitchell, in his comparison to Isaiah Bond, very strong receivers. You can see it in their build. Strong receivers can definitely create separation. Not necessarily the fastest, but like I stated here, crafty route runners who, when they get the ball in space, you won't catch them, but they also know how to win at the line of scrimmage. Big receivers, stout receivers. So Isaiah Bond is somebody to look out for in that Texas offense in the 2024 season. Again, if you have some players who like, Corey, how you lead this dude out? Or we want to hear what you got to think about this guy. Drop them in the comments below. But tonight, man, we just wanted to do a quick rundown of some players, some coaches, some people to be on the lookout for. And, man, we're going to continue to bring you the most modest sports takes. We're going to continue to bring you the best stuff. And like, comment, subscribe, share this video around. Hey, stay modest.